Hey, what's up, everybody? XRP versus Bitcoin. Now, we could see real quick XRP is coming on down. We could see Bitcoin is coming on down. And Bitcoin has, you know, been in our zone here. So we're seeing if we can get a bounce in this level. And so far, we have not gotten a bounce yet. We see a little bit of a wick forming here. Let's see what happens. But this is going into the weekend, which is a little bit, I think we're going to chill out in here. I think we're going to chill out right here. I don't think we're just going to keep crashing. Highly doubt it. And if we do crash, if we do have some kind of even bigger escalation, then I would imagine somewhere down in this zone around 70K, 75K, worst case scenario, but we will get a bounce. And if, like I said yesterday and the day before, expect a bounce. It's coming. And I think we're going to get it in here. So, but if we look at the small time frames, nothing quite there. Remember, we were bottlenecking right in here, bottlenecking right there. Boom, 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 drop. Boom, 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 drop. So we just dropped and we got a little bounce off the low. Let's see if we could build like a base here. If this starts just going up like this, it's just going to get rejected and come back down. So it's, you know what I mean? So it's better if you could just try to build a base here, get away from the scene of the crime, as I like to say, right? This is a bloody massacre crime scene. So you got to get away from the crime and just act like it didn't happen. You know what I mean? That's kind of how, you could think about it. But one of the reasons why I'm pretty happy right now is because of XRP versus Bitcoin. Look at XRP versus Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is in a bear market and it's crashing, and XRP is going to go into a bear market and it's crashing too, okay, then why the hell is XRP versus Bitcoin not crashing? Because surely every single time, let's go back in history here. If we look at the last time, and we're going to put XRP on the stage here. There we go. So you could see right here, this was the top of XRP, but this was also the top of XRP versus Bitcoin, right? So I don't think this is a top, not even close. So that's what has me still excited, right? One of the things that has me excited. So let's get rid of that. So, and let's put on Bitcoin now. So look at Bitcoin. And let's put a line right here to where it starts falling right there. Okay, so there you go. So look at the difference here. This is interesting. And I don't think anybody's really talking about this. But if you notice, you could see, right, we were moving down. But right as Bitcoin topped here, that's kind of where XRP had its liquidation, which was kind of interesting, right? So Bitcoin was going up, XRP was going down, which dramatically decreased the price of XRP versus Bitcoin. But now you could see Bitcoin has been coming down aggressively, massively. But then look at XRP versus Bitcoin. It's just like, hey, bro, I'm just chilling. What's up? So explain that to me. Because if everything's going into a bear market like people suggest, which I believe, yes, I believe Bitcoin is going into a bear market because it has. Well, we'll get into that in a little bit, but I do believe Bitcoin is most likely going into a bear market. So if that's the case, then you would see either distribution. We need distribution first, okay? We need some kind of distribution pattern first. So this is, if this is a shoulder and this is a head, we still need a retrace, guys. We need a retrace to give us the head and shoulders. Or we need a retrace if this is a wave 1, we still need a wave 2 so we could get a wave 3, so we could get a wave 4 and 5. If this is a bear market, that's what we should get. It's not going to just go down, 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 straight down forever. That's just not going to happen. And even though that it is happening, why isn't XRP versus Bitcoin capitulating? Explain that to me. Because if Bitcoin is in a bear market, which I think it could be the beginning of a bear market, then that leaves the door open for an XRP alt season. And now when I say I don't mean all the altcoins, I mean the altcoins that are in position, like XRP is in position right now, Monero is in position right now, Litecoin Semi is in position right now, right? I said Ethereum XRP. So let's put XRP on real quick. So you could see both charts here are coming down, but Bitcoin is coming down a lot more aggressive, because you could see now let's get rid of that and that. So basically, check out this. Ever since October 10th, we've been going up. So basically, we've been going up for XRP against Bitcoin for the last, for the last month and a half, basically. No, not quite month and a half. So I think a big bounce is coming. And the reason I think that is because if you look at this impulse here, right? First of all, we're building a beautiful base. Look at this base right here. Look at that. So look, you have an impulse, right? And then you have this boom, 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 right? Moves down, cocks back, finishes, right? Same thing here. Moves up, cocks back, and then finishes. Literally the same thing. And then if you notice right in here, you got this little area right in here, right? Boom, 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 right? Let's get the boom. Let's get the boom. You can say, oh, we're not getting that boom. We're not going to get this boom right here. We're not going to. Yes, we are. The reason I think we will is because Bitcoin needs a bounce. Bitcoin has been falling, day after day. So this is a 3-day candle. This is another 3-day candle. This is another 3-day candle. That's 9 days in a row. So there's our 9 right there, our daily 9, right? Our sequential. Do we have a 9? Look at that. We have a 9, but let's see. Okay, so I actually let me check the 2-day chart here. I like the 3-day chart. And the reason I like the 3-day chart is because you had a 9 right here that was really good, right? A 9 right here wasn't the greatest, but I would imagine, okay, so you're on a 7? So you're going to get an 8, and then you're going to get a 9. So we'll get an 8, and then we'll get a 9. So if the 8 is below the 7 and the 9 is below the 8, then we have a perfect count. We have a perfect sequential. So I think it could be something like this, where notice how you get a bounce and then you sweep the low. That's what I think could play out here. I think we should get a little bit of a bounce, sweep the low, and then really charge back up here for a retrace. Get rejected in here, and this is potentially where we could see an alt season or for XRP and potentially Ethereum, right? We could potentially see that. And the reason why we could potentially see that alt season is because the only time XRP goes into an alt season, the only time is 2 things. Number 1, Bitcoin is breaking out into new all-time highs. That's number 1. Number 2, Bitcoin is in distribution and it's going into a bear market. So what do you think's happening now? Is Bitcoin breaking out into new all-time highs? No. Is Bitcoin going into a distribution pattern? Potentially, yes. It very much looks like it, right? You have all the MACD crossover, you have the RSI, you have the bearish divergence, you have the impulse to the downside, you have all the necessary qualifications for a bear market. Not only that, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 waves. I mean, come on. Anytime you get 7 waves, it's really, really due, right? It's really due. Now, if the only way it's not 7 waves, and you can say, well, I thought you said we could come up and take the top here, then that would be more than 7. Well, the only way that it's not 7 is if this is a flat A, B, C, which it could be, right? So you have 1, 2, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This whole thing is wave 3. So 1, 2, all of that's 3. Then you have A, B, C, 4. That's wave 4, a flat. And then we're going to go up and set wave 5. If that happens, it's going to totally smoke everyone because no one's going to expect that. Nobody's expecting that. Like, if this happened, I wonder BCB would freak out. Like, that is not supposed to happen with all the MACD. And I don't think it will. I don't think it will, but on the other hand, I don't know. It's up in the air. You know, if this was under Biden or under a regular president, I would say, yeah, you know, it's looking like it. But Trump is, you know, he puts on a tricky show with the markets. And so we have to be skeptical. And not only that, we're going into Q4. Not only that, we should get more regulation soon. Not only that, we should see more XRP ETFs come out. So the environment is set for an XRP breakout to new all-time highs, because you can say, oh, that's impossible. But look, you can see right here. Look at this chart, guys. This is a massive chart. This is years and years and years and years and years. And this is going sideways for years. So you think we just did all of that for the last 8 years, and now we have to go all of a sudden into another 4-year bear market? That makes no sense. That means that XRP would need to go 9, 10, 11, 12 freaking years, right? So you're telling me if Bitcoin goes into a bear market and XRP does not break out into price discovery, then that could mean another 4 years before actually breaking out. So that would mean this whole thing would be 12 years long. Does that make any sense? Provided that Ripple is the #1 American blockchain company in America. Right? Despite Coinbase, and you know, I don't count Coinbase because it's an exchange, but I'm talking about like a real company, like they actually provide value instead of just sell coins, you know, like Ripple. So you're saying that Ripple will be the same price in 2028 as it is in 2018. That just, you know, I mean, I guess it makes sense because Amazon took 10 years for it to break out in its all-time high. But what I'm saying here is, look, we just talked about the XRP versus Bitcoin. We looked, and then also the XRP or the Bitcoin dominance, right? So let's look at Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance should be dropping or should be pumping right now. Let's see if it is. If we're in a bear market and we're getting eviscerated. So here's Bitcoin dominance, and you could see we're actually coming down. So why are we going down? If anything, it should be going up. Why? Why should it be going up? Because if Bitcoin is coming down aggressively in a bear market, then that means the altcoins should also come down even more aggressively. But they're not. Why? Maybe because they're not quite there yet. Maybe because if we look at an altcoin, like for example, let's take a look at, you know, something like Monero, right? You do have a lot of waves, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, you have a bunch of waves up here, right? So I'm thinking this has got to be an impulse. This got to be a wave one of some kind, right? You have a flat right in here. A, B. It looks like we're coming down, down, down a little bit more. But then what it looks like to me is that this is a wave one and this is a wave two. And then it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe wave 3, and then 5. Right? Here's your cup. Here's your handle. You got a cup and handle right here. But something like Filecoin is not going to even see it, right? They're not going to see it at all. The best thing Filecoin can do is create a little bit of a base and maybe get back up here to the top of the range. And that's all I see it happening. But even just getting back to the top of the range, I mean, that's a big move. That's a 700%. So XRP really doesn't even have that much left in the tank. Like if we go back to XRP for a second, and we just look at it, and from a percentage perspective, and let's say we go up and hit, let's say we hit $9. Well, that's not even 350%. So theoretically, Filecoin could perform even better than XRP, even though XRP is actually fulfilling its end game here. Well, not its end game, but its final move, right? Its potential final move. So the good thing is we don't have a lot of options here as to what could happen, right? I mean, that's, the market goes up, the market goes down. In my opinion, the market hasn't been doing anything except what? Going sideways. So anytime, right, you're going sideways forever, and then you mark up, massive markup, and you're doing exactly literally the same thing, and you're going sideways. And you broke out, and you have an A, B, C, a flat, a backtest flat at the top of the range. You can't tell me that this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way move is ruled out. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me that. Just because Bitcoin's rolling into a bear market. Well, again, we got this massive move in a Bitcoin bear market. We got this massive move in a Bitcoin bear market. So it's not over until it's over. Now, when would it be over for me is different than when it would be over for you, right? So to me, the way it's not over is if two things. If Bitcoin dominance, if this comes up and starts to rise, that's number one. That's bad, right? But actually, it's bad, but it's actually not bad. And I can explain that too, because if that's the case, then if Bitcoin dominance is going up, then there's a chance that the Bitcoin price isn't done moving up yet, and it still has yet to go into distribution, right? So the cycle is just much longer. It's dragged out further. There's, it's more stretched out. So people think, well, it's time, when it's not. So the next thing would be is if Bitcoin goes into a retrace. Let's actually do this, and we're going to put XRP there, and now we have them side by side. So here's where I would be concerned, right? Is if Bitcoin goes into its retrace, like let's say, well, first of all, here's our zone right here. And this is the zone I think we're going to chill out at. So if Bitcoin can chill out right here, and XRP can chill out right here, here's the big thing. If Bitcoin goes into a retrace, just like that, and XRP goes into a retrace just like that, and then Bitcoin rolls over, and then XRP rolls over, that's when I would say, okay. Now it's definitely looking like we got a much bigger correction, an extension of the bear market for XRP. That's what I would think. Because you would then have a head and shoulders here, right? You would have a resistance here, right? And this could potentially be coming down to then reset and then go up much later. Even if this happened, we would still see $8 XRP, $10 XRP. We would still see it. It would just take longer, right? So all I'm really saying here is there's a big chance that we could to see, right? We have 1, 2, 3, and then we have ABC 4. That's a flat. Look at the beautiful ABC. I just don't think C is quite finished yet, but we'll talk about that. ABC. All we need is Bitcoin to retrace just like that, and that could set up the environment for a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move off the low. And then we get rejected, and then we get rejected, and then we go down, and then we go down. And then we're in a bear market, and then we're in a bear market. It is totally possible. You know why it's totally possible? Because it happened last time. It literally happened last time. You can see right here, Bitcoin was already, I'm going to put it, I actually have to have it on Bitcoin, so it's a little bit easier to read. But look, Bitcoin had already topped right here. It crashed. I'm going to put it down here so we could see it, right? So you could see right here, Bitcoin came up, it crashed. XRP came up, it reset, right? Bitcoin took off a little bit, XRP started rolling. Then Bitcoin crashed. During this time, it's there, you can't really see it, but then XRP or Bitcoin came up, it took the top into a retrace, and look what happened. We had a massive explosion, right? So you could see this is our distribution, and that's where we saw XRP explode, was inside of the distribution. So if this is distribution, then it could be something like this, you know, where we had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom. Something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom. Right? Look at the picture I had yesterday. Right here. So you could see this was Bitcoin distribution back in the day. And if we can get a bounce in here and come up and take the top, that's a massive move right there. That's a move from 80,000 all the way up to 120,000. That's a massive move, right? That's a $40,000, $50,000 move for Bitcoin in a retrace, guys. That's all it needs, right? So if Bitcoin went up 50,000, now think about it. What's the price right now? We're literally at $84,000. Okay, so watch this. If I take a measurement, watch this, and I go all the way up, just back up to the top, that's a $35,000 move. What do you think is going to happen to XRP? Now, here's the grand finale. Ready? If XRP versus Bitcoin is slightly cocked to the upside while Bitcoin is coming down, then what do you think is going to happen to XRP if Bitcoin gets a retrace, a $35,000 retrace? What do you think is going to happen? Bitcoin went up $35,000. That's all XRP needs for the environment, right? The environment to get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all it needs right there. That's it. So if Bitcoin can go up $35,000, maybe XRP can go up $7, $8, $9, $10 around there. We'll see. We shall see. So that's how I think about it. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely. I could be wrong. It could be the end, right? Bitcoin could be done. XRP could be done. The whole market is continuing to be done, right? Because if you go like just look at, anything. Like look at Dash. Dash has been in a bear market since 2018. So people say, "Oh, this is the worst cycle ever." This is not a cycle. This is a bear market. There's only XRP's in a cycle. Look at Rune. Rune is not in a cycle. It's been in a bear market since 2021. Look at Optimism. Optimism's been in a bear market since 2024. Monero, same thing, has been in a bear market since 2018, 2017, right? So if you go to others, which is basically the entire crypto market, it's also been in a bear market since 2021. So, but worst case scenario, the problem with this is you already have the head and shoulders here, where Bitcoin has not quite yet created the shoulder yet. So Bitcoin is like right here. It still has to go up and retrace and then come down, right? So if we see others, it could be something like this where we have a three-way move up like this. So we have an impulse to the downside, a three-way move up, and then that's how you get the bear market, and then maybe a continuation later on. So something like Litecoin, I don't really see it breaking out of here unless we had this finish and then we build a little bit of a base here and then it acts like it wants to push higher. Then I could see it totally getting back up into these higher prices. So same thing with Ethereum, right? I mean, just look at Ethereum. Ethereum is begging to be bought, right? This is definitely, I'm definitely buying today. Just because of, just look at the chart. I mean, look at this. Look where we're at. I mean, we just came all the way down to a key area. This is a very big key area. I mean, look at this area. I mean, you have all of this, all of that, this, that, this, and now we're right there. So what do you think's going to happen? You got to get some kind of a reaction out of it. If it doesn't, if it just keeps slicing through, then I would expect a little reaction later on. But either way, I'm expecting some kind of a retrace here, right? So you can't say definitively that XRP is going into a bear market until we get the retrace. It's all, look at people say, oh, the crash is, that's what, no, the crash is the first thing. Everyone gets blindsided by the crash, but nobody really understands. You can't judge it by the crash. You have to judge it by the retrace. All right. So for example, if Ethereum goes up in 5 waves like this, and then it has a 3-way pullback, I'm going to expect it to go up in 5 waves. But if Ethereum goes ABC, 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 then I'm going to expect it to come back down and have a bigger 3-way move before then trying again. And then we would have another chance later on. But if that failed, well then, jeez, it's pretty much a failure. Right? But the way I look at this chart is we have a bullish setup. We have a massive impulse. We have a 3-way pullback. We have a 3-way move up. We have a 3-way move down. We have a 3, 3, 3. That's a W, X, Y. That's a 3-way move. We have an impulse to the upside. And now we have a pullback, a 50% pullback. Oh my God, it could be a dream come true. So all you would need literally is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you could finish the move. How do we get a 5-way move if Bitcoin is in a bear market, because Bitcoin needs a retrace, right? Bitcoin needs a little bit of a retrace. And then there's two things that could happen. One, Bitcoin comes up here, takes the top, you get 3 drives to the high, just like how you had 3 drives to the high right here. Google it, type in 3 drives to the high. So you have 1, 2, 3, 3 moves to the high, right? You hit it, you slam down. You hit it, you slam down. You hit it, you slam down. You retrace, you crash. Remember that. Right? You hit it, you come down. You hit it, you come down. You hit it, 3 drives to the high. Boom, you come down. And then you retrace, and then you crash. So we still have a move up for Bitcoin right here. We still have a move up for Bitcoin right here. We still have 2 chances. So it's not over until the fat lady sings. And even if it is over, it's still not over, because it's going to happen at some point, right? So let's say worst case scenario, Bitcoin's in a bear, everything's in a bear market or a continuation, and we're going to get very shallow retraces, and basically, that's it. Well, then if that's the case, it's still not over. Why? Because then I would expect 3 down, I would expect 3 up, and I would expect a retest down here. I would expect it to chill out a little bit, and then I would expect it to go into a bull run later on. So there's always if this, then this. There's always a difference. And again, the key here is XRP versus Bitcoin. Because why hasn't XRP Bitcoin, why isn't it crashing? Bitcoin is crashing right now, guys. Bitcoin is literally crashing. Why isn't XRP versus Bitcoin crashing? Explain that to me. Let's look at something else. Let's look at THETA versus Bitcoin. Just curious. Haven't looked at it in forever. So this one is not looking so nice, obviously. You can tell it's pretty much a disaster. That's a disaster. But what I can tell you, though, is this is the first time I've ever seen a wick. So it tells me we're getting close, right? 1, 2, 3. So think about this. If Bitcoin is in a bear market or going into a bear market, and the altcoins are going to continue their bear market, then where is THETA versus Bitcoin left to go? You know what I mean? Is it just going to go to 0? I don't really understand. Because to me, it looks like it's closer to the end than it is the beginning. Because the way people think about it is like, oh, we're just going into one. No, we're at the end of it, basically, unless it goes to 0, right? So the way I think about this is it looks like you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like it's done. So I would imagine you would just kind of consolidate in here and then maybe get a little bit of a bounce. It's very hard to tell, right? Let's look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin now. Because this is all about the altcoins, right? It's all about trying to get a percentage out of the altcoin. So look, okay, so wow. So look at this chart now. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, dude, it looks like you should get 5. And then it looks like you should get a 3-way pullback. And then it looks like you should go up and tag the top here. Because what this looks like to me is this could be a flat A, B, and a C, right? So you have 3 down, you have 3 up, and then you would get 3 down, and then you would go, but you'd still get a big move coming soon. So this chart doesn't look completely bearish. Now, the way it would be bearish is if this is a 4th wave. So, for example, this could be 1, 2. All of this could be 3. And then we have a 3-way pullback. That's number 4. And then we have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a final wave down. And if that's the case, guys, if that happens, I would expect all-time highs. because now you have a completed move. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have a wave 1. You have 3 down. We'll just say A. And then you have 3 up. And then you have B. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down for C. So you have an A, B, C. So think about that for a second. A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down for C. A, B, C. A, B, C. So you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, A, B, C, wave 2. What do you think happens next? We're going up. And all we need to do is have one more wave down. So one more wave. So there's 2 options. One is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3-way pullback. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Something like that. Which is still only 3 waves, right? It could be 5. It's kind of hard to tell, right? But basically, you would get a 3-way move up. And then you would have to go down into reaccumulation and then maybe go later on, which would suck. Unless this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you finish it, it's complete, it's done, it's done, it's done, it's done. You build a little base, then you could just go up and not even worry about it. So those are the 2 options. So worst case scenario, again, you really just have 5 more waves down, and then you should be done. So yeah. Now, if the stock market, now here's the thing. If the stock market goes into a bear market, or if the stock market gets beat up really hard, it's going to be very difficult for XRP to get that retrace, or for XRP to get an explosion above its all-time high during a Bitcoin retrace because of the downward pressure on stocks, right? So this could, like, look at Sia Coin here. Like Sia Coin, this is why I'm not really totally convinced, because if you just think about it, we've been going down for a long time, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a wave right here, right? So we have a wave, we have a wave, we have a wave, we have a wave, we have a wave. What comes next? We should get a wave, right? You would think, right? So that's what I'm saying, right? It's psychological in a way, obviously, because the markets are psychological. But like, look at Bitcoin Cash. I haven't looked at this one in a while, but it looks like to me, you had an impulse, you had a 3-wave pullback, and now you have, like, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this looks like A, B, C. Well, just look at that. That's interesting, right? You have a 1, and then you have an A, B, C. There's your 2. And then Bitcoin Cash goes up, and then it cocks back. Wait a minute. This can't be right. Is this right? Wow. I'm literally genuinely like, whoa, like, this, is this real? Because everything else is crashing. Why isn't Bitcoin? Look at, okay. Is this real right now? Look, Bitcoin is crashing right now. Oh my God, we're going to a bear market. But look at Bitcoin Cash. It's like chilling. It's like, I'm just flagging out, baby. And oh my God, this is the real deal, guys. I'm pretty convinced. So when Bitcoin chills right here, nobody's talking about this, by the way. Everyone's freaking out. I'm getting comments like, oh, we're in a bear market and things like, because that's how you know, like, when the majority of people believe, oh yeah, it's a bear market, then it's a little bit weird, especially since we're in the beginning of a bear market, right? Because theoretically, if you look, here's Bitcoin, you have higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So far, higher low, everyone still thinks we're in a bear market. So what happens when Bitcoin just goes like this? Boom, all the way up $30,000. Imagine Bitcoin going up $30,000. What do you think Bitcoin Cash is going to do? Especially if you look at XRP versus Bitcoin, and if you look at the Bitcoin dominance. So it's pretty, I don't know about you, but this looks like to me that when we get a retrace here, that Bitcoin dominance is just going to fly to the upside. I think it's going to get a big bounce up here. So I am so happy that I looked at Bitcoin Cash today because Bitcoin Cash seriously looks really good. Whoa. I'm like kind of blown away right now. Like, damn, this thing, because you can say, well, why it's not really that good? Well, what it's showing me is strength during weak times, right? We have weak times right now. Let's put on XRP. Okay, so this is where we're at. Okay. So you could see, look at the difference. Look at XRP. Look at the massive dump we had on XRP. But look at Bitcoin Cash. It barely went down. So explain that to me. Usually it's the other way around. Usually Bitcoin is barely moving down and Bitcoin Cash is getting obliterated to the downside. But maybe the tables have reversed. Why? How could it possibly reverse? Because if we're in Bitcoin distribution, see, that's the thing. That's why people always miss alt season, because they think that there's going to be no alt season because Bitcoin's in a bear market. But that's when you get an alt season, is when Bitcoin's in a bear market. You get an alt season when Bitcoin's already in distribution, or if Bitcoin's breaking into a new all-time high, which hasn't happened, which could still happen. Right? We could get both of them. Think about that for just a second. We could get both of them, right? So Bitcoin can go into a retrace and it could break out into new all-time highs. Well, when I say break out, I mean touch the top. Remember, 3 drives to the high. 1, 2, 3. Just like right here. Just like right here. Right? So I'm excited. Everyone else is freaking out and panicking and, oh my God, we're screwed. I'm not. I think this is interesting. I think this is very interesting. Look at Bitcoin Cash, guys. Look at this. Look, you got 5 waves up. You got 3 waves back. You have a move up and you have a move, and you're cocking back like a loaded gun. What do you think's going to happen? Well, 2 things could happen. One, this could be 3 down. And this could be a flat right here. See that right there? See how it went boom, boom, boom? That could be a flat. And this could continue to move down and be 3 down. So it could be 3 down, 3 up, 3 down. It could build us a base here, and then we go up. But I don't know. I think it looks set, right? And then if you look at where we're at on Bitcoin Cash, see, nobody's thinking or talking or even thinking about Bitcoin Cash right now. I guarantee it. Just like they're not even thinking about like Monero and stuff like that. But look where we're at. This is like a extremely key area. I mean, you got, all of these points right here, boom, boom, and boom. So a very, 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 very key area. So what I'm saying is, if this area ever broke out, we're immediately, since there's not a lot of price history, right? We're immediately going to go and tag these peaks up here. So I would actually get rid of that one. It's not even necessary, and just put that right there. So if this can cock back, I would expect us to get up here. Right? Again, I'm not asking for a full-fledged alt season. All I'm saying is, can we get a 5-wave parabola in a Bitcoin retrace? That's all I'm saying. Can we get a parabola? Can we get, let's look around a little bit. But first, I need to put Bitcoin Cash on the top of my list, because I need to keep an eye on that thing, because I want to trade it. I want to trade it, and I want to, come on, there we go. Go back there. It's on the bottom. Now I'm going to put it on the top. Would you look at that? It's up 6% today. Wow. It's up 6.5%. Oh my God. That's interesting. So, yeah. That's basically it. I mean, so again, XRP. Now let's look at the small time frames. Again, real quick. All I'm asking for, you have an impulse. You have a 3-wave move. That took 1 year. Took 1 year for that 3-wave move. The same 3-wave move right here took 1 year as well. So we move up, we flag out, and then we go 3, 4, 5. That's all I'm asking for is a little parabola, a big parabola, inside of a Bitcoin retrace. Just like over here, you can look at history, it's exactly the same. Right? And the way this could happen is look at Bitcoin dominance. Look at Bitcoin dominance. You got rejected. You're moving down. So if this continues to come down, well, then we look at something like, XRP versus Bitcoin. Why isn't XRP versus Bitcoin crashing right now? Right? Let's put on Bitcoin here. Look at this. Bitcoin is crashing, but XRP versus Bitcoin is like, nah, I'm cool. I'm good. Right? So explain that. If we were like in like dark times, this would not be happening. We would be freaking crashing. Everything would be completely crashing. This is just, you could say, well, we are crashing. Well, this is just a normal thing for crypto. It's not really a big deal. That's why I think there's a lot going on here. Right? It could be, and then it could also be a triangle, right? A, B, C, D, E, something like that. And that could break us out too. So be on the lookout for something like that. But let's see here, ICP. So look at ICP. Could this be the low here? Could have that been the low, and that could be the first move off the low here, and now we're gonna start trending up? I mean, it's possible. Let's see, Ethereum. We looked at that one. XLM. Now, XLM, that's the thing. Was XLM almost finished? See, now it's starting to look better, right? It looks like you have 1, 2, 3, but I still need a little bit of a 4 and then a 5. That's what I'm waiting for. A little bit of divergence. Give me 3 down, 3 up, 5 down. Beautiful ABC structure. I mean, look at the oscillation. It's almost perfect. It's a perfect 3-wave move. It's literally perfect. It just needs a little bit more to go. And then we could get a 5-wave parabola off the low. And you could say, well, how is that possible if Bitcoin's in a bear market? Again, it would happen during a retracement, right? So if we go back to Bitcoin now and we look back here, right? You could see we had retraces in here. This was a retrace. We had a retrace there, right? But then also what I haven't talked about in a little while is the fact that we're also, you could see we're building a base. You break out, you build a base. You break out, you build a base. You break out, you build a little bit of a base, and then you go into a parabola. Is that still possible? I remember we were talking about that. We build a base, right? You break out, you build another base. You break out, you build another base. You break out. Now, could this be all one giant base, right? Just like we had 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 parabola. Maybe we get the parabola. I don't know about that. That's really hard to ask. That's really hard to ask. But what I would say is, because Bitcoin, look at the last time Bitcoin went up. It went straight up, it cocked back, and then it went straight up. So that's why it was very short-lived, right? Versus this time, it's chilling out a little bit, then breaks up. Then it chills out a little bit, then it breaks up. Then it chills out a little bit. And what this does is it allows it to build a base. It allows it to build structure on the way up. That way, when we go into a bear market, we have a lot of support and strength. So that's the whole thing, right? So is it possible that the Bitcoin bull market or the bear market hasn't came yet? Like, for example, if this is a flat, boom, 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 ABC, right? And then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we go into distribution like up here. That's also very possible. Right? I would say no, because you already have 7 ways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's likely. But if this is not a 7, but rather a flat, a base, then that means we still have potentially one more wave up. So don't discount it so aggressively. A lot of times what happens is people get, the market moves down, they don't like it, they get upset, and then it moves down even further, and then they go, you know what, screw it, I'm over it. We're in a bear market. And then someone says, hey, we have some optimism over here. No, I don't want to hear it. We're in a bear market. They convince themselves that they're in a bear market, when in fact, you can't do that until we have a lower low and a lower high. We haven't had either. Here's a higher high. Here is so far as a higher low. So you can't tell me that yet. If we break the low, then you have something to say. But even if we did, we would still need a bounce back up. We would still need a little retrace here, right? For example, what if we had something like that? You know how we were flagging out in here? We moved down, we flagged out, and then we continued. So if we're going to flag out in here, then that will tell me, okay, we should continue down. But if we get a bigger retrace, then that could tell me, hey, maybe what is the big question is, what is XRP going to do when Bitcoin gets its next bounce? It's coming really, really fast. It's probably going to bounce this coming week. So, but we don't want it to bounce so quickly, right? We want it to kind of, hang out a little bit. We want it to kind of like, build a little bit of a base in here. So, look how long this took. A lot of people thought we were in a bear market over here when we had this crash right here. Right? And then we had this little rising wedge right in here. So people thought, yeah, it looks like we're going into a bear market. And it's like, well, how could that be if we barely made it back to the top? So all I would say is let's just wait and see. All right, now let's look at the small time frames before it's completely too late here. I like it. I kind of like it in here. I mean, it's still a question mark, but what I would focus on is look left, look left, look left. And what do you see? You got support, you got support, you got support, right? So, I think, and then, you have all of this, this zone down in here, right? So, you got a very sharp move. You got like 1, 2. I would say this is 1, 2. This is 3. Probably get 4, and then maybe 5. And then you get the divergence. Now, I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's possible, but I don't like the size of wave 3. It looks a little bit too small. So let's just focus on this wave right here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, I think there's a very good chance that it could be done. So, but I don't, and if we zoom in even further, I don't like this quite much. Like, what the hell is that? I don't know. You got a little bit of an impulse. You're kind of chilling out a little bit. So I guess it looks like this right here. Think about it just for a second. This right here looks kind of like this right here. Right here. A, B, C, right? A, B, C, right? I don't know. I don't really like it too much right in here. I like this wave. I just don't know. Like, I want to see a little bit more. Give me more, and then we'll talk. All right, XRP, same thing, It looks a little better, though, honestly. Looks a little better. It's got a little bit more of a cock back. The gun is a little bit more loaded. Whatever that means. So, you got this bottlenecking right here. Boom, 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 boom. Like I said, I didn't, when we were doing the videos in here, I said I don't like it in there because it's bottlenecking. And usually when that happens, it's not really that good. So I do see 1, 2, 3, I do see 4, and I do see 5. We took the low in here, right? And then if you look at the wick, let's put a line right there. That's how much we tested the wick. We could still test, like I've been saying too, even when we were in here, we could still test 50% of the wick, because that's a lot of times, that's kind of what ends up happening is you test 50% of the wick, right? Because, everyone gets flushed out in here, and then it moves back, and then it's grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding, and oh my God, it's painful, it's painful, it's painful, it's painful, and then we go up, and it's like, what happened? Right? It happened before, like right over here, right? It's painful, we're dropping fast, 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 fast. We got the big wick, we bounce up, and then we're grinding all the way down. It was less dramatic, but look, you tested 50% of the wick, right? There's other instances too where we can look at it. I mean, this one's a bad example, but it's really extreme. You had a big wick here, you had a 3-way pullback, and you're just grinding, you're grinding. You came all the way down, torture. And then it kind of gave you the relief later on. And there's instances like that too, like this one here was a very good example. You had a massive, like, complete straight down move, right? And then what happened was, it happened really fast. So people were like, okay, it's over. And then you go back up. And then what happens is it takes its time. It's going down, torture. And then it makes you feel the pain. And I think that's what's happening now. It's psychological, where we're at right here. Because if you look, it's kind of the same situation here. You had a big move down, you move up, and then you're just grinding, torture. And people really feel the pain. They feel worse here than they did during this thing. Because this thing it happened really fast. People didn't even realize it happened so fast. But this is taking its time. It's grinding, it's taking its time. So it psychologically hurts a lot more, even though we're at a higher price. So at the end of the video, this is it. So there's a real quick, this is the main thing I want you to focus on. The first thing is Bitcoin holding the base, or holding this support zone. The second thing is getting a retrace. The third thing is, how does it retrace? Does it go up in 3? Does it flag out? Does it impulse up in 5 and then cock back in 3? There's different things we can look for. And then the other thing would be, well, then how does XRP retrace? Does it go up fast and vicious with a 5-wave ending move? Or does it also go up in a shoulder, like a head and a shoulder and a head, right? Does it go up correctively like with Bitcoin? And then lastly, what is XRP versus Bitcoin doing during that time? Because we could see right now, it's still holding up pretty strongly, right? And then another thing would be, well, then how does Ethereum versus Bitcoin fare? And then how does something like what we just looked at, which is Bitcoin Cash, which very interestingly, very interestingly, has not gotten completely eviscerated like Bitcoin. Look at Bitcoin. We had a massive crash. And look at that, barely anything, right? So, it's anytime Bitcoin crashes, Bitcoin Cash crashes way worse. So why is it not happening now? Unless there's a move coming that we don't know. Well, we do know, and we've been talking about it, right? Which is basically, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it just looks like there needs to be some kind of a parabola. Now, for XRP, it's a lot harder to gauge that, because I don't like this particular wave. But we need some evidence. We need like a candle here, build a little bit of a base, and then we can get that parabola or at least a retrace. So either way, we're going to get something, right? If this moves down, let's say this keeps moving down, well, then I would look still at a flat. Or if it moves down a little bit more, I would say an expanded flat. But even if it's an expanded flat, I would still look for a retrace. And if you want to sell your crypto, you don't sell it in the middle of the first crash. That's rule number one. You would then sell it in a retrace. This is not financial advice. I could be totally dead wrong, but that's basically what we have today. And just remember, think about XRP versus Bitcoin. Think about, well, why isn't Bitcoin Cash completely getting eviscerated? Why isn't Litecoin? Let's go to Litecoin first. Let's look at LTC versus BTC. This will be a good one. LTC versus BTC. Let's go. So this one, you can see it's just been getting killed and 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 killed. I mean, it's basically the worst investment. I mean, if you held Litecoin this whole time, you basically lost. I'm sorry, but you did. The time to hold Litecoin is on the reversal. Now, down here, I don't mind holding Litecoin because look, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we are finished with LTC versus BTC. Now, if we look here, look at the wick, guys. I've never seen that before. Look at the wick. I've never seen a wick like that on XRP versus BTC, LTC versus B. I've never seen that kind of a wick. And then not only that, but let's go even smaller down. But look, we're also building a base, which nobody is talking about, which is one of the most important things you could do at a low is build a base. So to me, this could be like the depression phase. This could be like all hope is lost, right? So if we look at the Wall Street cheat sheet, right, you could say, well, we're in a depression phase where everyone's all pissed off, like it's over already, right? But then, you start getting back into a rally. Now for Bitcoin, it's like right here. And we still need the retrace, right? We still need the big crash. But so let's see what happens. In the meantime, I'm going to go fix the jump. We had some rain the other day, so it gave me a chance to move a little bit of dirt around. My son has his bigger bike now, so we can finally, he could go up that hill. He just barely turned 4 years old, so he's got a big bike, and he was able to, no problem. Yeah, it's so much faster than his little other bike. And now he could go up the hill. His other bike, it wouldn't even make it up the hill. Now he's going up the hill, down the hill, so he loves it. But anyways, guys, look, there's a lot of bearishness out there. I get it. I understand. And we should be very, very concerned. I understand that. But you have to look at it from a different perspective because you got to know that this is not the end, right? People think that, since we're in a bear market, there's no reason for me to own it. There's no reason for me to hold it. There's no reason for me to even look at it. When a lot of times in the middle of a crash, that's not true. That during the most bearish times is when you really want to be accumulating because, crypto moves very fast. And then next week, the market could have moved up 15, 20, 30%, right? And you could say, well, it would just get sold off again. Well, that's the art of trading, right? And that's where I make the majority of my money is just getting in and getting out. Now, the wealth comes over time, right? So I really believe that this is going to make some kind of a bottom here, and we're going to get some kind of a bounce up in here because if you just look at Litecoin, if you look at this coin, This doesn't look finished. This looks like it needs to come down a lot more, you know, and it goes with a lot of them. Like a lot of them could have that same reasoning. Like that one doesn't look finished. Let's look at Tron. This one looks sketchy. It looks like it's a flat coming in here. Ton coin. Like this one looks sketchy too, right? I could look at, there's your rally and there's your three-wave move right there. Boom, boom, boom. But I don't think it's finished yet, but I think it's getting there. And then once it finishes, then we should get a retrace. And then everyone's going to forget about the bear market during the retrace. And then that's when I'm going to come out and say, okay, guys, now we need to get scared. Now we need to get worried. Here's the bear market. But everybody else going to be like, well, didn't you miss it, man? We're back in a bull market. No, it was a retrace. Everyone's going to get fooled. Everyone's going to think the bear, when we start going back up, everyone's going to think the bear market is over. Everyone's going to think the bull market is here. But I'm actually going to be the one that's flipping my tune because everyone's like, how come you're not bearish? How come you're not bearish enough? And I am bearish, but how come I'm not bearish enough? It's because, well, because I expect that this to be finished soon and I expect a retrace. And when we get the retrace, everyone's going to think we're in a bull market. And then that's when I'm going to come out and say, no, I'm very bearish. And you can say, well, wait a minute. How come you were bullish then, but now you're bearish now and we're at a higher price? Well, would you rather be, because it's just like this. If you're bullish here, then you should be bearish here. Bullish here, bearish here. But it's always the opposite, right? So since we're down in the dumps, the dumb money is bearish because we're going down. But dumb money doesn't know when to flip bullish because eventually, right, just look at this wave right here. Eventually, the wave will go back up. So we could be right here, we could be right there, we could be right there. You don't really know, but I think we're close. That's the point. We're close. We're close. So, and I can tell we're close because I use H-bar and XLM as a scale. Look, if you take a fib and we go here and we go back up, you can see we almost hit the 7.8, or we hit the 7.86. So, and if it was on log scale, we could hit the 1-to-1, right? So the length is equal, right? You have a three-wave move that's equal in length. So the only way the bears are really, really right is if this is a 1 and this is a 2, and then we're going to go down 3, 4, and 5. Well, then in that situation, you know, that would be an A, a B, and a C, right? But then if we got that, I would still expect it to then go back up, right? So lastly, Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin. Why didn't I think of this one? So Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin, well, would you look at that? It looks insanely bullish because why? Because, dude, I'm telling you, this is interesting. I'm not saying go buy Bitcoin Cash. I could be wrong, but this is interesting. You got to admit, it's interesting. Look, you got this major downturn, which basically Bitcoin Cash has been dying against Bitcoin since inception, since its life was created. So everyone gets complacency, like, oh, it's going to continue to go down, right? It moves up, it comes down. It moves up, it's going to come down. It moves up, it's going to come down. So it doesn't matter. It's going to be short-lived. And that's true. It could be possible. But look at the bullish divergence, guys. I've never seen bullish divergence like this before. Not even close. This is, well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe on some things. But on the weekly chart, I mean, come on. Look at this. Boom, boom, boom. So you're going up. You're going down. This is major bullish divergence. Major bullish divergence. Right? And then look at this. You have a bullish engulfing weekly candle. So Bitcoin Cash could be the next freaking Zcash. Bitcoin Cash could be the next what was the other one that popped off really, really aggressively? ICP or something. Right? So yeah, what I really love about it is this low here, right? It looks just like if I flip it upside down, right? You got to move down, you got a three-way move up, and now it looks like you need a flat. So A, B, C. So it looks like we need to come down, which in reality, it's flipped upside down. In reality, it looks like you need to go up, right? Boom, boom, boom. So even if Bitcoin Cash is still going to go down, 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 which everyone thinks, you would still need a flat right here. So this flat could come up here, and that could be the end of the cycle, and then we can keep moving down. But at least you get maybe a little trade out of it. We'll see. So anyways, that'll do it for this video. I think that's it. Like BNB looks like it's toast. BNB looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, that's what we want to see from XRP. We want to see a little parabola that comes up and takes the top. BNB already did it, which is a little concerning. But Bitcoin BNB came down. But look, you still need a retrace and then a continuation, maybe. I mean, look at XLM versus Bitcoin. It's not going down anymore. Let's see, is there any sequentials on it? Just about. You're about to get a 9 on the weekly. It's not really perfected, but it's there. Right? You got the dojis. You got all these doji candles. So to me, it looks like you're cocking back like a loaded gun like this. And then you explode, and then you come back, and then maybe you explode, and you get a big fast move. You know, because even if we're in a bear market, you still get big fast moves up to fool people, to lure them in to it's never going to stop, right? When in reality, it's just a bounce, right? You get a bounce, you get a bounce, you get a crash, 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 you get a bounce, right? So we should expect a bounce coming hopefully soon. But yeah, it looks interesting, that's for sure. Like that one looks like a complete disaster. But it feels like it should be finishing soon. So